Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. It's Dave with you again. Hope things are going well. We're middle of October at the time we're recording this. And, it's autumn. It's getting a little cooler here in Canada, and the evenings are getting darker sooner and all that great stuff, which means, winter's coming. But I get to spend time with you, so that makes me happy, and I'm glad you're here. I want to help you to be more memorable. I want you to be the person that people remember. They interact with you on a podcast when you're a guest or a host. They interact with you at a podcast conference or a meeting or in person or at the checkout at the store. I want people to remember you. I want you to stand out and be memorable. Okay? And we got 3 things that I want you to try on your next podcast guesting experience if you're a guest, or you're hosting and you want your guests to remember you, or anywhere you're going to be in a social setting where you want people to remember and walk away going, I like that guy. That person's amazing. She lights up the room. There's something about you that I want people to remember. And today we're going to unpack it on the podcast on how you can be more memorable. Introduce yourself as a guest on a podcast, or when you're meeting someone new, how can you stand out? You're on the How to Podcast series. Let's strike up the memories. So when you go to a podcast conference or a big event, you get handed all these business cards and you write little notes to yourself and you put things in your phone, and you get back home and a couple of weeks later you look at it and go, who was this person? What did they do? What was the thing about the thing? And I'm looking at all these names and going, I should take better notes. I should write things down. I should make some kind of note to myself. Future self Dave, you might want to follow up with this person because they're great. So every time we do this kind of interaction, social settings, online, anything like that, we need to do something to capture and remember people. But then that's us interacting with people who come to us or that we interact with. But how do we leave people remembering us? When we have guests coming on the show of our podcast, or we're going to be a guest on a podcast, we want people to remember us. We want people to go, oh, yeah, I remember that person. And it seems like our memories are getting smaller and smaller as we rely on all these tools and technology to remember stuff. I hardly remember people's phone numbers. It's number 4 in my list of contacts. I don't remember where I'm supposed to be next, but Google Calendar tells me I'm late for a meeting. All these things, they kind of just make us rely on technology a little bit more and not so much on our memory. But when we're sitting down with somebody and they have a huge impact on us, we want to remember them and we want them to remember us. So there's a few things that I want you to do. The next time you're a guest on a podcast or you're meeting somebody for the first time, here's a few things that I want you to try to help you to stand out, to be more memorable in the moment so that people will connect with you and remember you long after the conversation. Okay? So here's what we need to do on how to introduce ourselves, and something that I've been trying myself. So how do I introduce myself to people? I kind of approach these situations kind of in the same way all the time. First of all, I introduce myself and what I do, and I always try to keep it as brief as possible. Okay, I don't expand on it. I don't give them my whole LinkedIn bio. I don't tell them about the time when I was 6 and I fell off my bicycle. No, that's not, it doesn't serve the conversation. It doesn't serve this quick interaction with somebody. And we get so caught up in the details that people are like, what were we talking about? So get to the point. Just tell them enough to be interesting, but keep it brief. Okay? Don't expand on yourself so much that people are so mesmerized by how much you've done in life that it just takes them out of the conversation, and they're so overwhelmed with the amount of data you're throwing at them about who you are and what you've done. Unless it serves the audience that you're talking to, hearing about all of the shifts in your career and all the jobs you've had and all the positions and awards and events and speaking things and books you've written and on and on and on and on and on, really, it doesn't really serve the conversation. The other thing I like to do is I like to throw in a little bit of humor. something that just catches people off guard. So I had Kevin Palmieri on my show a little while ago, and I said something along the lines of, my wife finds me mildly amusing from a safe distance. And when you hear Kevin, he does this little chuckle. I'll throw it in here. And what I love is it's kind of a slow burn chuckle. It's kind of a chuckle that turns into a laugh. That's something different than what you might experience just in a cold, kind of business-like meet and greet. Hi, I'm Dave. To throw something in there that's a little unexpected, again, feeds the whole thing about being memorable. Because I made you laugh. I touched a part of your emotions in the conversation that made you go, this guy is kind of funny. So you're not a comedian. Probably most of us are terrible at comedy, but you can add a little bit of humor, a little bit of you into the conversation. And I think that's what makes you stand out, because you can think on your feet, you can entertain, you can make an impact in a very short amount of time. And that makes people walk away from that conversation going, that was fun. There was something fun about meeting this person. There was something fun about having you on the show. There was something fun about meeting you over drinks at a Business After 5 meeting. You stood out in a sea of suits and ties and business cards. There's something different about you. And that's what I want you to leverage at your next event, or being a guest or being a host. There's something different about you, and I need you to uncover that. So for me, I love humor. Again, little things, little jabs. I'm very, very sarcastic around people I know well. They'll tell you that, and it's just who I am. So I let that fly because that's who I am. If I'm around strangers, then I'm going to be a little more reserved until I figure out the room. I don't come in doing a full-on comedy sketch, but I would much rather be me so that people can connect with me. The same person you hear on the microphone, it's really the same person you're going to meet. A little shyer if I don't know everybody, but this is me. This is who I am. I'm weird. My wife will confirm it. I am weird. So that's something to keep in mind. You want to give them just a little bit of your personality, a little bit of who you are, as well as telling them who you are. You need to show them who you are at the same time. The third part in this whole process of creating engagement and helping to be memorable is to continually try to find common ground with the person you're talking to. So as a host, common ground with your guest. As a guest, common ground with the host. At a social event, common ground with the people around you. So if you tell me you love music, if you collect Coca-Cola memorabilia, if you like the Sammy Hagar years of Van Halen, if you play a Fender Strat, if you know what a D diminished chord is, any of these things, if you talk podcasting, whoa, I perk up there. You got me right there. If we have common ground, it also bonds us in the conversation. Again, we go from two people who don't know each other. We don't even know each other by name. We've never even met, maybe. But a common bridge between two people attracts and builds a relationship in the moment. So in that moment, when people seem to be so self-absorbed, here's my awards, here's my achievements, here's my books, here's my titles, here are my jobs, here are why I'm important, here's why you should listen to me because I'm a big shot, fancy pants person. I've done all these great things, and I rub it in your face because I'm insecure, maybe. When we can find common ground with the person that's in front of us and take all the attention off of ourselves in the moment and put it as much as we can onto the interaction with the person in front of us, that's going to change the dynamic. And again, when everything's said and done, people walk away or stop on record and we go on with our lives, they're going to remember you because you made them feel different than everyone else. And that's one thing I really try to put into my podcast. I want you, the moment we're done and you leave the Zoom room or however we record and you go on with your day, I want you to go, dang, that was a good conversation. Like that was different than all of the other podcasts I've been on. I feel like I learned something as a guest. I feel like I have a new connection with a new person in my life that I want to stay in touch with this person. This is not transactional. There's a bridge here. And this host, Dave, made an effort to know me. And I feel different because of this interaction. That's the sign of being memorable. You introduce yourself in a way that doesn't feel like you're boasting. You add a little bit of humor, a little bit of your personality, and then you try to build a common bond with the common ground between you and the person in front of you. All of these things together, I think, will actually build up a stronger rapport between you and your guest. And it's going to make people remember you. So here's a simple little structure for podcast introductions. Now, if you're going to be a guest on a podcast, I want you to try to build your intro around these points. Okay, they'll be in the show notes. You can click on them and you can see what I'm saying in real time while we're doing this. But they're right there on your phone. You don't have to go to my website and download or sign up or get a PDF. No, it's on your phone because you're listening to me right now on your phone. So just look at your phone for a second. It's my structure for podcast introductions, okay? So here are some of the things I want you to do when introducing yourself on a podcast or to somebody, okay? This structure consists of, first of all, your greeting. Just start with a friendly hello, an engaging eyeball to eyeball interaction, looking at the person, not on your phone, looking past them at the person behind them that you're really interested in talking to, but I kind of have to talk to you before I can go talk to them because they're the ones I came to see, but you're kind of here. So don't look past your person in front of you. Don't be thinking about what's next. Focus on the person and stop not focusing on them. Like, why are you doing that? Focus on the person in front of you. That's your most important person right now. Then next, just introduce yourself, your name, and your role. Again, kind of like we talked about earlier, just clearly state who are you and what do you do? It's kind of like back to Arnold. Well, who's your father and what does he do? Right? Yeah, terrible accent, Dave. So that's what we want to do. We just want, who are we and what do we do? What are we all about? And I would say, as much as possible, the doing part, what do you do, shouldn't always just be the job title you have right now. It should be, how do you show up in this world? Like, who do you serve? And there's more to that than just the title of your most recent position. So who are you and what do you do? And a little bit beyond what you do for a living, what your job title is. The next one to consider is any key highlights. Your experience matters, but it doesn't need to be held over my head that makes me feel insecure or inadequate because you're just going on and on and on about who you are. Again, a LinkedIn bio is a terrible way to meet somebody. Imagine going on a date with somebody. It's like, say, how are you? Nice to meet you. Hey, you're pretty cute. Let me read you my LinkedIn bio. Wow, talk about killing the room, right? Read the room, everybody. Just mention some of your experience, what's particularly pertains to what you're going to be talking about with this person possibly, and any achievements, but make it succinct, just to the point. You don't go on and on and on. You're going to lose me as somebody interacting with you. Just to the point, be succinct. Just give me some key highlights, the big picture, okay? I don't need all the details and stats and the numbers. No, just keep it high level. And then the other part we talked about already, but just to reinforce it, is the personal touch. Again, this goes back to building that commonality between you and who you're talking to, but add a relatable fact about yourself. What this tells me, especially as a podcast host or a podcast guest, is that you've done your homework. You've listened to my show, or I've listened to you on a show, and I've found something in common. I know that you like the TV show Friends. I don't know. And I like the TV show Friends. So I already know that about you. So I'm going to bring it up and say, hey, I was checking you out on your website. You mentioned Friends. I've been watching the episodes forever. And I actually interviewed somebody that was on the show. Such a cool show. Now that just built an instant bond between you and me. We both have this thing in common called Friends, which makes us friends. So do something that's shows that you've done your research. If you're meeting somebody on a planned meeting in advance, you're going to do a little background search. You're going to do a little bit about them, right? That's going to build that bond. And if they haven't done their homework, it makes them kind of sit back and go, wow, I should be better. I should have checked out your stuff. I feel so, right? Because you've done something they haven't done. And it's not common. We are so self-absorbed in our culture and who we are these days to think about others and putting others first. It's that whole holding the door for somebody at the store. Someday just stand there and watch. At a distance, watch how many people hold a door for somebody. It's not as common as you think. And I think we can do that in our personal interaction with people. We want to value the person in front of us more than ourselves. So add a personal touch, a relatable fact about yourself that relates to the person you're talking to. It really helps to build the bridge. And then last part of this, kind of the way to tie this all together and then go into the interview, go into the discussion, go into the conversation, whatever, is to transition to the topic at hand. So very simply, what are you here to do? What are you here to talk about? Are you a guest going to be on the show and you're going to be talking about business? Are you a host going to be talking to a guest about their new book? Something that connects everything that just happened, the greeting, your name and role, your key highlights, your personal touch. You transition all of that into the conversation and then go. I would suggest for your podcast to make this as tight and as succinct and short as possible. A 3-minute diatribe about all of the things about your guests and reading their bio and then having them then also introduce themselves after you've already introduced themselves. Don't do that. Keep it short, to the point, and get to the topic. It's engaging for the audience to be like, oh, every podcast seems the same. They talk forever about their intro. And you feel like you have to hear everything about the guest. No, just get right to it and blow away your audience with, wow, we're already into the topic? That was fast. Surprise and delight your audience. Surprise and delight your guest. Surprise and delight your host. You will be remembered long, long after. Okay, so here's an example introduction for you. Are you ready? I'm going to do one for you, just so you can kind of hear all of these points put into a script. I'm going to read it to you, but here's my attempt at bringing all these things together. Okay, here we go. Hi, everyone. I'm Dave Campbell. I am a podcaster, and I've been in podcasting for many, many years. I have experience helping other podcasters connect with audiences, and I was recently featured in the Storyblocks blog about how to podcast, and they did a whole article about my show. And outside of work, I love collecting Coca-Cola memorabilia. I have been a musician. I've been playing guitar for over 45 years. And I'm really excited today to come in and talk about podcasting here on the show. I'm so glad to be a guest on your podcast. Thanks for inviting me. There you go. By following these simple guidelines, you can create an introduction that is not only informative, it's engaging, and it's making it easier for people to remember you. That's the key. So I want you to take this structure. I want you to take the example. I'll put the example into the notes as well. I want you to play with this and come up with your intro to yourself. Here's why I'm asking you to do this. On our meetups, we go around the room and we introduce ourselves at the beginning, and then we say goodbye at the end of each meetup because we want to hear every voice in the room, not just my voice. Snoozeville, right? We want everyone to speak and to share who they are and make engagement. And I'm trying to encourage everybody to be succinct, to the point, tell us about your show and who you are and all that great stuff. That's what we wanted them to do in a succinct way. So it's kind of we're trying to model this actually on our meetups and get better and better and better at explaining who we are. So take this example from the show notes and practice yourself and figure it out. I'd like for you to get to the point where you can do this without looking at a piece of paper or your phone, and you can just do this in real time, because it's going to feed you and make it easier for you when you meet somebody in person, when you're a guest on a podcast, or you're the host of a show. To be able to explain what you do and what everything's about in your life to the right audience in the right way will make you memorable. And again, add a little bit of you, okay? Because And when you add yourself to the mix, that's the unique thing that makes you stand out, and people will remember you just because you're showing your uniqueness. We need you. We need your voice. And the only person who can do your show, the only person who can be your guest on a podcast and talk about the things that you know is you. So be confident, be you, and keep showing up. Just keep showing up. Put yourself in places where you don't know the people you're talking to. Put yourself into places where you're going to meet people for the first time. Get outside of your circle. Get outside of the group that you naturally feel most comfortable with, and expand that circle every day. One new person, one new interaction, one new something every day. Because you're going to be a better person in the process. You're going to meet people who are going to make you better, and you're going to grow community, which will help you to stay on track, keep you motivated, keep you engaged, helping you to grow and to learn from somebody else. You can only learn so much on your own. There's great resources, there's podcasts, there's books, there's all kinds of great things out there, courses to make you better, but you always learn better in community. So if you're looking for community in podcasting and you're tired of podcasting alone, because who isn't, right? We do this all the time by ourselves. And you're looking for a podcast community, then come check out our meetups. We got great people. They'd love to talk to you and build relationship with you on and off of the meetup platform itself and help each other. That's what it's all about in podcasting. You're not meant to podcast alone, okay? You're meant to podcast in community. It's what we do here. It's what we promote. And we'd love to be part of your community and have you part of ours. So come check us out at the howtopodcast.ca website. You'll see the meetup there. You'll see a link into my calendar. You'll see all kinds of great tools and resources for you on your podcast journey. howtopodcast.ca, because I'm in Canada. howtopodcast.ca. Link in your phone right there. It's on your phone. Just click the link. Come over and check out our website. And I'd love to meet you and chat about your podcast anytime. All right. Thanks for being here. Make sure you're memorable. Do something to make yourself stand out this week in your next interaction in person or online. And practice. Practice. Getting your spiel down to the point where you feel comfortable enough that you don't need a script and you can share who you are in a moment's notice without any prep at all, because you know your story and you know what people need to hear about you to make a connection. And the biggest thing is be memorable. Make people leave interacting with you going, that was really worth my time. It really was. howtopodcast.ca. Thanks for listening. So you're a podcaster and you podcast alone. You are in your home, you're in your studio, you're in your closet, and you podcast. And you put everything out there in the world and you're thinking, man, I'd love to meet another podcaster and not feel so alone. I wish there was a way to meet up with other podcasters and talk about my journey, ask my questions in a safe place where others there are also podcasters at different levels. Some people have been doing this a long time. Maybe some podcasters are brand new like me. And I'd love to be able to ask questions and do community with others. Maybe find a guest for my show or be a guest and ask a question that's bothering me about podcasting that I haven't seen or already got an answer to. I wish there was a group for me. Dave, do you know of a group where they do all of that and they do group hugs, virtual group hugs? Yeah, we do. It's our meetup. And you know, guess what? You're invited to come to our meetups. They are amazing. Not because of me by any stretch of imagination. It's because they're great because of the people who show up. You're going to meet some of the nicest podcasters you've ever met. There's no judgment. There's no talking down to you. It's not about me. It's about the group. And there's many times where I don't even have to talk. Each of the people coming bring great expertise and insights that can help you grow your show, to help you be a better person. And they're there to support you. It's our meetups, and you can find them at our howtopodcast.ca website. Come join us. There's over 200 people in our group, and we'd love to have you there. Lots of room for you. come be a part of our meetups and meet other podcasters. Don't do it alone. Podcasting should never be done alone. Come join us, howtopodcast.ca. See you at our meetups.